Yes. But you know, I have a very... I'm thinking, I remember years ago when there was a very famous case of these two boys who killed a little boy, the Jamie Bulger case. And I remember being very struck by the coverage of this event, because naturally, I say naturally because one gets used to these things, the media was constantly using this word evil and talking about these two boys, these two children. I think they were 11 when they took this 18-month-old and brutally tortured and murdered him. I remember being struck, I almost remembered it for the first time since, that when I was 4.5 or 5, and when my third brother was born, I was so upset that it wasn't a girl, because I so wanted a sister, and I had 2 other brothers, and I really made the mistake of gunning for a girl. And when it wasn't a girl, and he was brought home from the hospital, I decided to kill him. And I went into his nursery to kill him. And I don't know what I was going to do. I hadn't thought it through. I wasn't a practiced murderer at this stage. And I noticed that he had a little sort of bonnet on with some ribbons going into his mouth, and I started to pull them out. And my nanny came from behind me and said, "Oh, you clever girl, you're saving his life." So I then had this legendary status in our family ever since as my brother's saver. But what nobody knew, and what I had never really acknowledged to myself until the Jamie Bulger case brought it to my attention, was that, you know, there, but for the grace of a couple of ribbons, I might easily have killed my brother, not in a necessarily a vicious way, but in a way that felt natural to me. And what I'm really sort of trying to talk about is, I think there is a way in which society tries to push difficult things away from us. We try and push them away and say that they are evil. We say that they are foreign. We say that they are not of us. That is really not useful to society. I'm not saying that one necessarily needs to embrace this darkness, but to know that it is of us, that it comes from us, is really, really important, because then we can look at responsibility. And I don't mean, in the case of Kevin, for example, it's not just the responsibility of nurturing the child who is outside of us, but the responsibility in ourselves. I think, I don't know, I'm sort of loath to rationalize too much about what Eva could have done differently, because frankly that's a never-ending business, and also I wouldn't want to play with other people's arguments and projections, because really we made the film for that. We didn't want to give any sort of rational explanations. But I do think that there's something that doesn't occur to her, which is that she can be authentic with this child. She can tell the truth. She doesn't have to fake it. She doesn't have to... She can bring herself to her child. I mean, it's very interesting when she actually, when there's the accident, stroke on stroke, potential accident, potential abuse, when she throws him against the wall and breaks his arm, he calls it the most honest thing she ever did. And that's a tough moment. But I think that there's a really, that's true. She showed, and he appreciated that. He had her attention at that moment. I mean, it would be nice to think that it would be possible to get your mother's attention without getting her to break your arm. But I think that there's a way in which she really becomes a more functional mother only when he's incarcerated and everything else has gone. There's a very important line in the book which we shot at one point and we didn't put in the final edit, but it's a very good moment when she asks him in the prison, why didn't you kill me too? And he says, well, you know, when you're putting on a show, you don't shoot the audience. He wants her attention, and he does get it.